Well, hey, it's Pastor Seth here with you again, and thanks so much for tuning in. I pray that this encourages your heart. I pray that it encourages you to pick up your Bible for yourself and read it this week. That's the place we meet God. That's the place God has primarily chosen to reveal himself by his Spirit. So just open it up. Wherever you open it up to, you will be blessed. Open it up, read it, ask him to speak to you this week. I'm going through some texts. I started out in the very beginning of Genesis, and I'm just kind of working my way. I'm taking a big jump today over from Genesis 15 yesterday to Genesis 50. But I'm doing these texts because they point out and they emphasize this idea that God is sovereign. The God that we serve, he is sovereign over everything. His sovereignty means there is, in the words of the New City Catechism, there is nothing that happens except through him and by his will. R.C. Sproul said, if God is not sovereign, then God is not God. And he goes on to say, if there's even an atom of or a molecule of the universe that is outside of his control, outside of his sovereignty, then he's not sovereign. Ergo, then he is not fully who he claims to be, the creator of everyone and everything. In control over able to reach into any point of the universe and impact it and control it. That's who the God that we serve is. And in Genesis 50, there's a lot that's happened between Abram and him going and God making promises to him. And there's his son Isaac is born. To Isaac's born two sons, Jacob and Esau. And Jacob has a whole bunch of sons. One of them who's Joseph. Joseph gets carted off to Egypt. His brothers sell him into slavery because they hate him. They're jealous of him. And in Genesis 50, it's the last chapter of Genesis. You have Joseph, his father has died, his brothers are concerned that he's going to take revenge on them now, that he's been nice to them during their father's life, but now he's going to take his vengeance on them for what they did to him. And in Genesis 50:20, Joseph says something that is amazing, and it underscores God's sovereignty, even over this terrible thing that happened to him. He was separated from his family for decades, probably. He was sold into slavery. He was probably near executed. I mean, hard stuff happened to Joseph as a result of his brothers. But listen to what Joseph says in Genesis 50:20. He says, "As for you," speaking to his brothers, "you meant evil against me when you sold me into slavery," is what he's talking about. "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today." In other words, God's sovereignty allowed him to be at work even in the selling of a brother into slavery, something that's almost unimaginably cruel and mean and harsh. And yet Joseph is able to look back, and because God was sovereign, God was working, God had a plan even in that. The brothers didn't know it, but they were working out God's sovereign plan even in their hatred, cruelty, and jealousy to their brother Joseph. So God's sovereignty allows him to redeem even the most terrible circumstances. Even the things that we would look at, we say, man, that is so wrong on so many levels. God, there is nothing good that can come of that. You know what Joseph said? Guess what? God used it to preserve the lives of many. See, God's sovereignty, the fact that he is in control of everything, means he can redeem even the most terrible circumstances. And friend, that is something to take heart and comfort and joy in, no matter what's going on in your life. We can probably all resonate and relate to that because we all have hard stuff. But if we follow Christ, he can use even the most terrible circumstances in our lives and redeem them for his purposes.